What is the stupidest injury you've ever gotten? Lean forward to look at my face closely in the bathroom mirror. Vertebrae in my lower back slipped out of position. 9 weeks on disability. Then got laid off. I once injured my leg by jumping off the back of a moving truck. So that I wouldn't be in trouble riding on the back of a moving truck. Did you get in trouble though? There's a tool called a hay hook. It looks like a big Captain Hook hand, except it's welded to a metal bar. You stab it into small bales of hay to make them easier to drag around. One day I missed the hay and hit my knee. I actually recoiled at this one. Did you do long-term damage? I have an issue from falling down a hill as a kid. Knees seem finicky on healing. I was lucky. It was blunt enough that it just caused a lot of bleeding. No soft tissue damage. Plus, I was a kid. I didn't really have the strength to actually hurt myself too bad. Needed a tetanus shot in a couple of weeks, and I was fine. I sneezed, it dislodged a herniated disc, causing me to collapse and rupturing my vertebrae, crippling me permanently. So yeah, I got crippled with a sneeze. That sucks. I was waiting to see a sneeze injury. I sneezed while driving my car and popped a rib and dislocated my jaw. This replaced the irrational fear I developed 5 responses ago. Nice. Testicular torsion? I've hurt myself in many weird ways, so this was tough to figure out. A while ago I was riding my bike and saw a rabbit. I wasn't watching where I was going and rode off a retaining wall. I got a concussion from that. I once broke my thumb trying to give someone a hug. Awkwardly caught it on their body and the ligament of my stretched thumb popped off and took some bone with it. HMM. Aggressive hugging. When I was 5, I was stepped on by a llama. My mom said I had a llama foot-shaped bruise on my back for a couple weeks. They closed the petting zoo after that. When it reopened, they no longer allowed people inside the animal pens. I hope you work this into everyday conversation with the blunt grace of a name drop. Your grandpa is ailing, huh? That reminds me of the time I got stepped on by a llama. They had to close the zoo. In January I broke my rib trying to get a soda from the backseat of my car. Okay, a few things here. Your story made me chuckle. I'm sorry for your pain. The first comment sent me cackling, but I completely lost my shat this one. Thank you. Snapped my humerus in half while arm wrestling. I did not find it as humorous as it sounds. I watched a video where someone snapped their arm while arm wrestling and I refused to ever do it again. Huge nope. When I was 6 my forehead was really itchy, but it was one of those deep itches that you couldn't really scratch out. So my bright 6-year-old brain told me to get into an all-fours position and try rubbing my forehead into the carpet. Well, I did that and ended up taking a small layer of skin off that took ages to heal completely. Imagine walking in on your child doing this. You'd think they are possessed. Possession with intent to scratch. Ended my brief interest in ballet by doing a grand jeet into a door and breaking my toe. I broke my foot whilst practicing the finishing move in Karate Kid. I was 20. Get him a body bag. Yag. I woke up, looked at the clock, had time before the alarm would go off, and went back to sleep. Woke up again, looked at the clock, felt a pop and heard a sound in my neck. Torticollis. I had to call my dad to come to the college, help me down 3 flights of stairs, and take me to the ER. Ruined my whole 2-week Christmas break. Turned my body in bed. Left butt cheek cramped up and went out at an oblique angle and I heard a pop. Day before my grandma died. 2 years of severe left lower back, hip, knee and ankle pain. Trying to get treatment but it's still stuck and popping and clicking, luckily not as painful as before though. My right shoulder and elbow are clicking because I did CPR twice in 2 days. Those were the only times I've had to do CPR and just my luck it was back to back, just insult on injury. Oh, man. Did you have to do a bunch of physical therapy? That sounds completely awful. In high school as I was leaving I saw a high jump pad and bar on the field, so I decided to give it a try. When I landed on my back, my knee came down and I gave myself a black eye. I feel like somehow this qualifies for a full shrimp but needs its own special name, like a figure skating move. Catastrophic Tebow. Watching American football as a kid, my dad missed the play where one of the wide receivers injured his ankle. Oh dad, he did this. I ended up with the same injury. You were spot on at least. Live reenactment. Dad spent the rest of that day laughing at you and I can tell. This wasn't me. but I was playing basketball with some friends one day and the topic of Derrick Rose's ACL tear came up. Friend of mine was confused how he could have gotten hurt on that play, so he tried to mimic exactly what Rose did to see if he could feel any pressure in his knee. He tore his meniscus. I tore my meniscus 6 weeks ago and had surgery to repair it. Everybody keeps asking me if I did it playing sports and I have to tell them, no, I in fact injured it rolling over on the couch. I'm 20 if that makes it any more embarrassing. I did mine 10 weeks ago doing jumping jacks. Even the surgeon laughed at me right before they put me under. I tore mine too in a stupid way and supposed to have surgery, but the orthopedic doctor hasn't set anything up yet, so still terrified thinking about it. I punched myself in the forehead during an improv comedy bit and gave myself a concussion. Commitment. Will, does this mean that you're really strong or really weak? He's a glass cannon build. My sister said, hey, I wanna shoot your BB gun. So I give it 10 pumps, hand it to her, walk over to the tire, and as I'm setting the pop can on the tire, she shoots me in the A. Took a doctor 10 minutes to dig it out. Same. Expect mine was by my little brother and it was right above my crack. He apologized till he was well into his 20s and last year, I guess he got tired of the teasing. He just said, you know what, F it. Yeah, I did it on purpose. That hurt. You could say your little brother is a crack shot. Time to return the favor. Oof. I had a friend's older brother decide to chase us around the outside of the house with a BB gun, shooting at us. He missed every shot but one to the top back of my head. It hurt a bit at first, but mostly it bled like crazy. Once the bleeding stopped, I didn't think much about it until several days later when I was laying in bed and folded my hands under my head and felt a hard little bump. The BB had gone up under the skin and this was the first time anyone had felt around up there. I just had a little wound that would have healed on its own from the BB itself. But after having it cut out I got 6 stitches and my hair has never laid right in that spot since. I had lost about 30 pounds. And my belt was getting too big. Most people would say, oh, time to buy a new belt. The craftier of us might say time to get out my leather punch. I say time to dig a hole in the belt with my folding pocket knife. It folded in on itself while I was digging a new hole in the leather and cut my thumb to the bone. And had to go to urgent care to get it stitched up. My wife bought me a leather punching tool for Christmas that year. I love that your wife bought a punch rather than a new belt. That's a wife who knows her husband. She knows he's going to do it again one day, so he might as well have the proper tool for the job. A folding pocket knife without a lock is just an injury you can fit in your jeans. Throw it away already. It's tasted blood once and will do so again. The malevolent blade of wobbling, a folding blade, with a crappy lock that gives you a false sense of security is even more dangerous. I decided it would be quicker to walk down an incline of tennis ball sized rocks in flip flops with my hands full than walk around on the pavement. I was right, I descended quickly. Having your hands full decreases brain functioning because you can only think about the fastest way to stop having your hands full. You tried your best. I fell when I was pregnant with my first baby. At the time I was carrying in bags of groceries. All I could think on the way down was don't hit your belly, don't hit your belly. So my brain didn't have room for drop the bags and decided the best course of action was to hit my face first. Had a scab and a bruise. But baby and groceries were fine. Stupidest injury? Well, one time when I was a kid, I was running around the yard, pushing the wheelbarrow. I hit a big root, went flying forward into the wheelbarrow, and ended up crashing into a tree like 40 feet downhill. Stupidest time I merely hurt myself. I peed on an electric cattle fence, cause I thought it would be funny. It was, just not for me. These are both such cartoon character things to happen. Yup, growing up in the mountains. Deep A country meant you made your own fun and got hurt doing it a lot. I also ran over and broke my own leg on a dirt bike. I was trying to jump the dam of an old dried out pond, slipped off the back halfway up, and the bike reached the top, stopped, and rolled side over side down onto my leg. Tried to break a thread by wrapping it around my fingers and suddenly pulling a thread of Kevlar, cut my fingers to the bone. New fear unlocked. Same for me, but it's somehow so stupid. Like, why is our brain scared of that? We can just decide not do that and there is a 0% chance that would ever happen to us. SMH. Oof, I haven't cut myself that deep. yet, but I've sliced myself more than once on braided 40-pound test fishing line. I haven't learned. Bro, that shit's the worst day. One of my surf casters is quite heavy, but the drag is fairly light for the rod, so when I cast, I have to tighten the drag right down then undo it. Guess how I found that out? And like 6 times since. Braid here as well. I did that with a nylon thread. Realized mid pulling that I was a dumb F, but it was already too late. Severed 3 tendons in my left hand while slicing a bagel. Basic tendon repair went over well, but my middle finger got infected. They had to put a tendon from my leg into my hand. 3 surgeries over a refine bagel. Holy sh, this blew up. Everyone keeps asking me if I ate the bloody bagel. No, I didn't. Thanks for the awards. I always cringe when I see people cut an avocado while it's in their palm. I handled at least a 1,000 avocados as line cook, and these slippery affairs will ruin your life if you don't do it right. Busted lip. I punched myself in the mouth while ripping a wax strip off my leg. I have another one. A horse once bit my boob. Hard. I had a fun time explaining my injury to my mom. I get a fun scar too. I can see why your username. Through our powers combined we could have a very anxious horse and be conglomerate. A horse once kicked me in the crotch. I was very thankful to be a girl that day. It was a fun bruise. Haha, shaped exactly like a horseshoe. I woke up with a sprained ankle. I still have no clue what I did before I fell asleep or in my sleep, but suddenly I woke up. My ankle was swollen and I couldn't walk. I gave myself a blood nose taking the cap off a particularly stubborn marker. Fell through drop ceiling thinking it wasn't drop ceiling. It did not hold my weight. On vacation in Florida, I had forgotten my sandals at home and didn't want to wear shoes down to the beach. Figured I'd buy a pair later, and was already the last of our group to arrive, so I walked down barefoot. The boardwalk ended up being a lot longer than it looked due to a twist and was made out of some odd almost plastic composite material instead of wood. I have a very high pain tolerance. When I finally reached and my feet went from mildly uncomfortable to on fire, I had to be carried back off the beach. 2nd-degree burns on the entirety of both soles of my feet. I couldn't walk for a week. I still openly tell people it's one of the dumbest things I've ever done. A wasted vacation too. Well, it was certainly a relaxing week. Stepped on a metal boardwalk barefoot at the Orange Lake Resort and burnt my foot to the point where the skin on the bottom of my foot was all dead. I didn't realize until we got back to the room. Had a fun time peeling it off equals. Man, is that a high bar for me? I think this time I'll go with the time I broke my arm because I was running and my feet got tangled in my parachute pants. I love it lol. But the real question, what year was this? Somewhere in the late 80s. I was a teenager and I was wearing parachute pants as part of a costume. It was a holiday and my dad was taking my brother, my best friend and myself into town to watch a parade. On the way he stopped by an ATM, gave me his ATM card and said run over and get $100. So I did, tripped, broke my arm, almost passed out from the pain, kept going to the ATM, got the money out and walked back to the car. My dad goes, why are you holding your hand like that? Someone could just grab the money. And I go, I fell down and I think I broke my arm, and my dad goes, OMG, let's get you to the ER. And teenage me didn't want to ruin everyone's day, so I said no, I was joking, I'm okay. Here's a tip, don't do that. This was around 9 AM. Spent all day in a crowded city being pushed, poked, and hit with rubber mallets. Holiday tradition. With a broken arm. With my dad, brother and best friend laughing at me whenever I went out or, yelped. Got home around 4 PM. Mom goes, why is he holding his arm like that? Dad says, oh, he fell down in the morning and he says it still hurts. Mom instantly took me to the ER and a few hours later I was home with a shiny new cast. Well, not shiny, but Broke my foot on the way to the kitchen to get a muffin. I ate the muffin lying on the kitchen floor with my foot propped up on a chair trying not to cry. Priorities. My sister fully dislocated her far left toe and fractured it while running to get a towel. She always stubs that toe in the corner of the door, but that time it got hooked there and ripped it off the bone and cracked it. Oh god. I coulda done without that last part. Holy sh. Hope she's okay. This is my favorite so far. Definitely giggled. Guy with a farm down the road. Hey, can you come help bale hay tomorrow? Me at 16 with no prior bale experience. Sure, I'll be there. Showed up in basketball shorts. Left looking like I spent 3 minutes in a broom closet with 5 cats and a vacuum cleaner I couldn't shut off. The mental picture of a 16-year-old being ravaged by cats in a closet while desperately trying and failing to turn off a vacuum cleaner just cracked me up. Thanks for that. OMG. The second I read basketball shorts. Lol. We used to hire high schoolers from town to help with farm work, and it was both frustrating and hilarious. Baling hay, walking beans, picking rock, they'd all be like, how do you people do this all day long? Every day? Good times. Winter time. Friday, weekend of Super Bowl XL. I was running around high school in untied Timberlands. Friend was chasing me and I tripped and fell into a hallway door and sliced my head open. I hit the door so hard my Cayman and blow version flew out of my back pockets along with everything else in my pants. When the janitors cleaned up the mess they brought me back a purple cartridge. Not major, but one time I somehow sliced my thumb to the point of bleeding with my other thumbnail. It wasn't even sharp. No effing idea how I did it, and I just sat there for a good 5 seconds staring in disbelief at my bleeding finger before getting a band-aid. Also burst a blood vessel in my eye by sneezing too hard. I looked like a Bond villain for a bit. I have an unfortunate talent of accidentally cutting myself on strange objects. All of these were very minor and needed a band-aid at most. I have cut myself on a microwave, a jar of honey, a piece of frozen ham, a locker, twice, a pool table. My left nut turned 180 degrees while I was sleeping and my nut didn't get any blood. It was effing bad, man. I thought I was going to die. Had to get my bowel sac cut open to pull my nut out and turn back around. Testicular torsion terrifies me. It apparently just happens, usually in the middle of the night, and no one really knows why equals. Only comment on this thread that made my toes curl. I'm a woman and that hurt my balls. It's an on a arm. I pulled a hamstring getting out of bed. Isn't adulthood fun? I was trying to reposition a tube for a ride at Waterworld. Right before going down it, slipped on the first step and sprained my ankle. By the time I got done with the ride it looked like a baseball in place of my ankle. Second ride of the day. Happened earlier today. Not so much stupid as in my fault, but the universe was definitely laughing at me. I decided I was finally going to get serious about running. I wanted to run for exercise for a while, but I was out of shape and embarrassed. I finally mustered up the courage to go to the gym. I walk outside to let my dog go to the bathroom before I left, and a wasp stung me on the lower side of my foot, right in the arch. I was wearing sandals, even had on my workout clothes and everything. My foot was the size of a softball for a week. The stupidest bee sting I've gotten was when I was driving the boat across the lake to the landing. I hit a wasp with my neck, so of course I slapped my hand to my neck. Got stung again on the hand. I think I might just be a bee wasp magnet with how often I've been stung. Thankfully I don't swell or have any sort of allergic response. Took a golf ball to the face. We were launching it out of one of those giant water balloon launchers. I pulled back as far as I could and let go. The ball stayed in the pouch and snapped back in my face right below my right eye. We're talking maybe a half inch from losing my eye. My zygomatic bone took it all, but surprisingly nothing broke. I just sprayed a ton of blood and had a massive black eye that migrated all over my face. Oh man, I pinched a nerve stapling paper at an awkward angle. I had to go to urgent care. It was considered on the job injury too. I was so embarrassed. I cut my thumb open to the bone while taking apart a Rubik's Cube with a skinning knife. Out of curiosity, why did you want to take the Rubik's Cube apart? To put it back together with all the sides correct. Never could get it back the way it started any other way. Thanks for asking. Asking because today I was trying to open a can of stain. The screwdriver slipped, and I stabbed it right into my other hand. So now I'm staining stuff with a small stab injury on one hand. I think you'll find that's a fairly common injury and that you won't feel too stupid over it. I'm mostly just super irritated at myself, because now my hand hurts and I still need to finish this project this weekend. I was deaf in one ear for about a week because I had built a super pop-pop cracker. I had taken 2 boxes of those pop-pops, or those paper snappers, and very carefully unwrapped each one. I emptied out the contents into a tissue paper and twisted the end to form a huge pop-pop. I then accidentally dropped this inside the house. right on the tiled floors at my feet, where it exploded and echoed so loudly. My left ear kept ringing and then I was deaf for days. My sister, who was 3 floors above me, even heard it. I threw out my shoulder angrily, moving a hotel pillow in the middle of the night. Had to go to PT to get full range of motion back. Oops. Hit my pinky toe on the leg of a table. Instead of it just hurting or whatever, my entire foot was bruised. 4th grade. Excited for my first ever youth soccer practice that afternoon. I kicked the solid wood coffee table in excitement that morning, nearly breaking my big toe. Didn't practice. Tore a muscle in my butt while bending over putting laundry in the dryer. Broke my finger when punching down bread dough. Strained a muscle in my back while pooping. Dislocated my shoulder walking a dog. Pulled a plate from a fused bone off the bone. Ran headfirst into a street sign, and so many more. Rolled my ankle while running, just running for exercise. Felt pain. Thought I just sprained my ankle. Went to the doctor and it turns out I fractured my 5th metatarsal, a Jones fracture, one of the hardest to heal in the human body. That was a month ago. Just got cleared for weight bearing in a boot. Can't even drive for 10 weeks. Put a mini bike on its kickstand. Walked 2 feet. Turned around and found the bike falling on top of me. I could have sworn I almost severed a muscle strand in my calf where the frame hit me. 5 years later I still have a small divot in my leg. Being a young kid obsessed with ninjas, I, at 4 years old, repeatedly jumped from our ottoman to kick the back of our couch in midair. Did it so many times that I broke my ankle. I sprained my wrist racing my sister in an indoor gym. We made the finish line about a foot from the wall, and I ran straight into the wall at full tilt. Or the time I broke my toe because I was running barefoot in the house and tripped over a dumbbell that I had left in the middle of the floor. The first one is a little dumber in and of itself, but the second one is compounded by the fact that I was a full-on adult when it happened, so I didn't have the excuse of being a dumb kid. I threw my back out sneezing too hard. I was so embarrassed by the actual reason I told everyone I was helping my mom move furniture. Not once, not twice, but 4 times I have sneezed a contact lens out of my eye. I have to keep a spare pair with me just in case now. I hear you, disc brother. I'm returning to work tomorrow after 3 weeks off following discectomy surgery from exactly that. Hurts like hell. Teacher here happened to me on playground duty. Kids thought it was hilarious. Hope you recovered well. Dude, I had to have a freaking discectomy and laminectomy just because I sneezed. I swear to God it was the sneeze which popped out my disc. 6 months in pain and finally a surgery. Nothing to be embarrassed.